Okay, Shavua Tov, everyone, and welcome to Shmuel Bet. Chapter 8 is where we are. We left off having seen the extent of David's kingdom. I did try last night to update the map, which I created for you to see, and now I've lost. Where's it gone? There it is. I shall just share the screen with you. I did try to update this map because, as you can see, Tyre is missing. There should be a line going from Jerusalem up to Tyre, because that was another extent of David's kingdom. And when I asked ChatGPT to do it, the line went from the J of Jordan up to the S of Syria over there. It was miles away. So I asked it to do it again, and after the third or fourth attempt, I gave up. And so I'll have to somehow or other do it by hand and add it in. But that's where we got to last time. We can see the extent of David's kingdom. We're going to now look in a little bit more detail about this these campaigns at the end of chapter 8, and then we're going to go into chapter 9, which starts to get a bit more personal about David. This part of the story of Shmuel Bet is, in fact, the more national picture of what he was up to militarily. Whereas when we get into chapter 9 and beyond, we're going to get into the personal stories about David, initially with the son of Jonathan, who was lame. Can anybody remember his name before, without looking it up? What was the name of Jonathan's son who was lame?
Not Ishbosheth.
No, close. Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth. Very good. Yeah, Mephibosheth. Well done, Hannah. You were close, Michael. Ishbosheth, of course, was Saul's son.
Right.
Not Saul's. Not that, which would be Jonathan's brother, as opposed to Jonathan's son. But you were close. Right. So that's what we're going to be doing in chapter 9. So let's go to chapter 8. Just bear that map in mind. We're going to be talking about this in a minute. So I just want you to have that in mind, that Aram is up here. Aram is Damascus, and Aram Zobah is sort of greater Damascus up in Syria. And Edom is south, in the south of Jordan, the south of the Negev.
Bonnie.
I'm going. Yes, David.
Yeah, if you take a look at Corin 275, and there's a similar map in
yes,
yes, you'll see it's a much larger area than ChatGPT, and it extends much further north than what ChatGPT has done for you. So Aram Sova, for example, is significantly north of Damascus on this map.
Yeah, let me see if I can show this map. I'll tell you what I'll do. Just give me a sec while I take a photograph of it, and then I'll try and put it on the screen. It does show a slightly different approach, doesn't it? I mean, most of it is similar. It's the same, but you're right. It is further north.
And it is a larger area.
You mean going east?
No, the whole kingdom is larger than the map that ChatGPT drew for you.
Okay, let's just have a look. It's a better map, actually, because this is the one on the screen is a schematic map, and the one that you're showing me, which I want to just put on the screen for you, is a better map, actually. Let's have a look and see if I can take a picture of it and then share it with you.
Yeah, in fact, the map in Dat Mikra goes even further to the east than Corin.
Right, let me see if I can put this on the screen. Can you see that at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to make it a bit bigger. Right, can you see that map?
Yeah.
Yep.
A
That's
tile.
the map. That's the map that David's referring to in the Koran. And here's Jerusalem. If we could put them back side by side, bet we can. Right, let's just try this a second. Right, there we go. Let's make that a bit bigger. Right, okay. So you can see Jerusalem is here. There we go. There's Tyre. And I wanted to put an arrow on our other map over here from Jerusalem up into Tyre. On our map here, Aram Zova is parallel or just slightly north of Aram Damascus. And on this map here, it's quite a bit north. It's over here, this area here, and there's Damascus. So it's a bit further north. And Ammon, well, we've got that, haven't we? Let's just see if we can expand that a bit. No, that's not going to work for us. Okay, let's put that bigger map there. So there's Amman, and with our other map here, we can see there's Ammon, Moab, Damascus, and here's Lebanon, Tyre. Here, of course, on the Mediterranean coast is the Plishtim. This is the extent of the kingdom. And just at the bottom of this map, which you can't see unless I manage to make it a bit smaller, going the wrong way, is Edom. That's what we're going to be talking about in a minute. Edom, which is south of the Dead Sea. There's the Dead Sea, and there is Edom in the Negev and southern Jordan. Okay, so that is where we're at. Can you see the screen now with the text?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's what we've been talking about. Now, the last verse we did was verse 12. Jeffrey, verse 12.
From Aram, from Moab, from the children of Ammon, from the Philistines, from Amalek, and from the spoils of Hadaezer, son of Rehob, king of Zobah.
Stop there.
David
Stop there.
gained-
So that stop there. And so that verse 12 is the basis of the map that we've just seen. All of those places we've just seen on the map are mentioned in that verse 12, tells us the extent of the kingdom. Now, this is new starting this week, verse 13.
David gained renown upon returning from striking down Aram at the Valley of Salt. 18,000 men he appointed authority.
Stop there. I don't like that translation at all. Let's have a look at the Hebrew. Vayas David Shem. Translate those words. Vayas David.
Yeah.
Peter?
He made
David made, and David made
yeah.
Shem. He made
He made a
himself.
name.
He made a name for himself.
Yeah.
He made a name for himself. Now, Jeffrey translated it as
Gained renown.
gained renown, which is the same thing, you'll argue to me and say, well, why am I being so pernickety? I'm being pernickety because the expression to make oneself a name is not the first time you've heard this in Tanach. Where have you heard of making yourself a name in Tanach?
When David, David,
Johnny, Moses.
Yep.
Where does it say that Moses made himself a name?
I can't remember, but I think that it was with I thought.
Wait, I don't think it does. Hannah?
when David was killing tens of thousands of people.
David did not make himself a name. He was praised by the girls that came out to sing, but we don't have this expression, Vayas Shem. Where is it? Where have you heard it before? You've all heard it before. Shall I show you? David, do you want to tell us?
Well, I've got a book in front of me, so I've been cheating.
Okay, well, there you go. There's some good honesty for you. There it is on the screen. We're talking about the Tower of Babel. Remember the Tower of Babel? Look here. Look at this. Vayomru, and they said, Hava nivna lanu ir. Let us build a city. Umigdal, and a tower. V'rosho bashamayim, and its top will be in the heavens. V'naaseh lanu shem. And we will make for ourselves a name. Now then, what does that mean in that context? What were they trying to do, these people, these Tower of Babel folk?
Compete with God.
They were trying to compete with God. That's exactly what they were trying to do. They were trying to fight with God, weren't they? And they wanted to make themselves a name. There is another expression that you all know, which indicates making a name in the same idea. We've spoken about it before. It's a modern building, a modern institute based on a pasuk in Yeshayahu. And you've all been there.
Yad Vashem.
Yad Vashem. Yad Vashem. Which means, Yad Vashem means a memorial. Okay? Yad Vashem. Yad is a memorial, Vashem and a name. Memorial and a name. So the idea here is that, and by the way, there's the pasuk in Yeshayahu on the screen for you. Verse 5, Jeffrey, on the screen.
I will give them in my house and in my walls a place and a name, better than sons and daughters. An everlasting name I will give him, which will not be discontinued.
What's he talking about here? He's talking about people who keep, look at verse 1, people who keep justice and practice righteousness. In other words, social justice. People who do the right thing, Hashem says via Yeshayahu, I will give them a place and a name in my house. And let me show you the Hebrew. Uvachomot bebeiti, in my house, uvachomotai, and in my walls, Yad Vashem. Yad Vashem. That is where the name of the National Holocaust Memorial Yad Vashem comes from. Yad Vashem, a place and a name. The philosophy, the purpose of Yad Vashem is to give a place and a name to the victims of the Holocaust. Yad Vashem. Yes, David?
Yeah, Corin suggests this is more than just a name. It's a monument, which is obviously what Yad Vashem is.
Correct. Exactly that. Now, let's go back to our pasuk, and we'll just say a little bit more about what David said. Vayas David Shem. He made himself a name. That's why I didn't like Jeffrey's translation. It's not blaming Jeffrey, he only read it. But I didn't like Jeffrey's translation of he gained renown, because although it's true, it doesn't give us the flavor. What David did here, according to many of the Mefarshim, is, as David Marks has just said, he made a monument. Yad Vashem is a monument, isn't it? And it's a permanent monument. It's designed to be there forever as a memorial. And David's correct point out that in the Koran, it talks about a monument, and it gives different examples of different monuments that different kings did and made for themselves at that time in the Near East. There's a picture of one here. I'm just going to read it to you. The Assyrian king Shamshi Adad V made a stele, S-T-E-L-E, which is a monument, and it's got his picture on it, and it's a royal inscription. I'll just read you what it says here in the Koran. In this verse, David makes a name, meaning he made himself famous. That's what the Art Scrolls translated. This indeed was God's promise in Shmuel Bet, chapter 7, verse 9. In the prophet, let's just go and have a quick look at that, because we can. This was in the prophecy of Natan. Remember, David asked to make the Beit Mikdash, and he said, "No, you can't, but I will allow you, allow your son to do it. But I'll do something different for you." Verse 9 on the screen, Jeffrey.
And I have been with you wherever you have gone, and I have cut off all your enemies from before you, and have made for you a great name, like the name of the great ones that are in the earth.
There you go. Va'asita lecha shem. So this is the fulfillment. Our verse in chapter 8 is a fulfillment of the verse in chapter 7 that Shmuel, that Natan said to David. So carrying on in the Koran. However, the phrase Yad Vashem in Ishayahu, which I've just shown you, might suggest that Shem here means something more, that David set up a monument for himself. A royal inscription of King Shamshi Adad I of Assyria lends color to this suggestion. He notes that he received tribute in his capital city of Ashur, and I established my great name and my steles in the land of Lebanon on the shore of the Great Sea. David then may have made a name for himself literally as well as metaphorically. So,
and maybe this is another way of interpreting V'naseh lanu Shein, the first source that you brought from Migdal Bavel. What was the shame? It was the Migdal.
Yeah. Very nice. Let's have a look at that again. It's on the screen. Verse 4 on the screen, Jeffrey.
And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make ourselves a name, lest we be scattered upon the face of the entire earth."
So if you're going to be scattered upon the face of the entire earth, what's going to happen to the memory of you?
Disappear.
Going to disappear. That's right. So if you don't want your memory to disappear of you, if you want to, what do we do? When somebody passes away, what do we do?
You put up a matzeva.
You put up a matzeva. And what do you make that matzeva of, Jeffrey?
Well, usually of a stone that's pretty hard.
Yeah, something that's going to last forever and ever and ever. Okay, the idea is that this person's memory will never fade away. Unfortunately, of course, cemeteries don't get always looked after as they should, but we sometimes come back to them thousands of years later, don't we? And we find these matzevot. And what does a matzeva? What does that word matzeva mean? What's its root?
Matzav.
Which means
a position, a situation.
Okay, but that's not really what a matzeva is doing. What's the root of matzeva? I'll give you a clue. You're going to read it this coming Shabbat.
Matzav is a condition.
Yeah.
What are we going to read this Shabbat?
Nitzavim.
Nitzavim. Very good, Michael.
Yeah.
Nitzavim. See the same word, the same root?
To be rooted in,
Nitzavim.
to be rooted in something.
Correct. To be rooted. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem.
Yeah.
Today you are all stood here. If you are natziv, it means you are firmly rooted. So a matzeva is a monument, and the idea is that that should be firmly rooted. And as Jeffrey said, something which will be a very hard stone, which will not disappear, and not the writing on it won't get rubbed away. And what do we do when the matzeva of our loved ones is looking a bit weak and the writing is looking not so good? We redo it, don't we? Why? Because we want the memory of that person to last on and to linger on. And so that was what these people were doing, as David has pointed out in Migdal Bavel. They built this tower. What was the point of the tower? Right? Normally you build a tower to get to the top of it, right? The apartment, the penthouse on the top. Here there was no point to this tower. Its top was in the heavens. The point of it was so that everybody will see it and remember the people of Bavel. It was Na'aseh Lanu Shem. It was the monument that they were making in order to secure their legacy into the future. So going back to our pasuk, David made for himself a name, both metaphorically and physically. And now we come to a bit of difficulty.
Hold it. If we go back, Divrei Yamim doesn't say that David did the attack the 18,000. It said somebody else did it.
Oh, Michael, I've taught you too well. I've taught you too well. Michael the SWAT is going over to Divrei Hayamim. Hold your horses, Michael. We're getting there. You're absolutely right. Divrei Hayamim is once again going to cause us some difficulties, one of which is the one you've just mentioned. So hold that thought. Well done. See, that's fantastic progress. We now know that if we want to just measure the veracity of a story in Tanach, we can go to Divrei Hayamim and compare it. Now, I'm going to ask you a difficulty which Divrei Hayamim will help us out with. Look at this verse 13. Do it again for us, Jeffrey. Verse 13. You can do either on the screen or your art scroll. I don't mind.
David gained renown upon returning from striking down Aram at the Valley of Salt. 18,000 men. He appointed
Stop. Okay. He came back from smiting Aram in the Valley of Salt. Now then, where do you think the Valley of Salt would be?
Dead Sea.
Well, it would be in the Rift Valley, wouldn't it? Near Sodom.
You would think it would be near Sodom in the Dead Sea, because that is where all the salt is. And you would be correct. Now then, I'm going to show you again. If I can show you, I'll show you this one because I like this one. Where's it gone? Need to make it bigger. Need to make that smaller. Right. There's the Dead Sea, right?
Yeah.
So you'll agree with me that the Salt Valley must be around here somewhere, yeah?
Yeah.
Where is Aram?
Aram is in the north.
There you go. Aram Damesek, Aram Tsova. What's our problem then with our pasuk?
Well,
Shall I show you the pasuk again? Read it again, Jeffrey. 13.
David gained renown upon returning from striking down Aram at the Valley of Salt. 18,000 men.
so what
Well,
was
the Valley of Salt is nowhere near Aram. So how come he struck down Aram in the Valley of Salt.
What were the Arameans doing in the Yam HaMelech, isn't it?
Correct, that's the question. What were the Arameans doing in Yam HaMelech? Where do the Arameans belong? Up in the north, right? Damascus, miles away from Yam HaMelech. So what's the answer, Michael?
They were joining Edom.
Good
What's
guess. Good guess. I'm afraid to tell you that the answer is a little less exciting than that. The answer is in Divrei Hayamim. What does it say in Divrei Hayamim? Verse 12 on the screen for you, Jeffrey. I see, Michael, I had you in mind when I got this ready.
And Abshai, the son of Zeruiah, smote the Edomites in the Valley of Salt, 18,000.
Right, so we've changed, haven't we? What did our pasuk say?
Aram.
Aram. And what does Divrei Hayamim say?
Edom.
How do you spell Aram? Yeah, I'll help you out. It's on the screen for you. Aleph, Resh, Mem Sofit. Right? Aram. How do you spell Edom?
Aleph Dalad Vav Mem.
Yeah, but you can also spell it without the Vav, can't you? Because you could have a Cholam without a Vav.
Yeah.
And that would be Aleph, Dalad, Mem Sofit. What is the difference between a Dalad and a Resh?
Little triptych at the end of at the top.
Very little is the answer, correct? Very little. One of the suggestions, I think the Radak, although I can't remember now just off the top of my head, I think the Radak suggests that quite simply this is a spelling mistake and that this should say Edom and not Aram, because they also knew their geography, that Aram was in the north and Edom is in the south. So I point that out because I think it's important for us to realize that when it comes to Masorah, there are all sorts of potential pitfalls with Tanach. We talked already in the past about the many Korean ksivs where you read it in a different way to it's written. We've also mentioned things that are not written but are spoken about and actually mentioned. We had one of those a couple of weeks ago. So here's another example where there is some doubt as to whether the Masorah that we have, which is Aram, is actually accurate, and whether Divrei Hayamim has gone and changed it to Edom because that is the more accurate picture. Now then, I'm going to show you something else here, which is going to give you a bit of difficulty. You'll be pleased to know that our pasuk in Shmuel talks about how many smitten Arameans or Edomites were there. Well, our pasuk's talking about Arameans. How many were there?
18,000.
Divrei Hayamim says
18,000.
18,000. What about Tehillim, chapter 60? There it is. Read verse 2 for us, will you?
When he fought with Aram Naharaim and with Aram Zobah, and Joab returned and smote 12,000 of Edom in the Valley of Salt. Sounds like the Hamas here with the different numbers.
So, yeah, well, we know about numbers in Tanakh, don't we? But we don't have consistency, do we? This is clearly talking about our battle that we've just mentioned. This is a LeDavid, Michtam LeDavid. And he's talking about when he fought Aram Naharaim with Aram Zobah. Now, I've got another difficulty for you. Yoav returned and smote 12,000 of Edom in the Valley of Salt. What does our pasuk say? Verse 13 again, Jeffrey.
David gained renown upon returning from striking down Aram at the Valley of Salt, 18,000 men.
So who did the striking down of 18,000 men?
David.
And what does it say in Tehillim? Yeah, I've highlighted it for you.
And Joab, yeah.
Yoav. So there's another stira, another contradiction. What's going on here? Can we not trust Tanach?
Could there have been two battles?
Ah, very good. Very good, Jackie. That is one suggestion. One suggestion is that the battle up in the north in Aram was done by David, and he smote there 6,000 men. At the same time, there was a southern front led by Joab against Edom in the Valley of Salt. And he killed
12,000.
12,000, as it says in Tehillim. So Jackie has got his Gomorrah cop on and has worked out that we can square the circles here. Is that the right expression?
Yes. Yep.
Square the circles by interpreting the 18,000 into two separate battles with two separate generals on two separate fronts. And that makes us all happy because all three sources can now, in some way or another, align with one another. And one of the things that we do not like at all, and we know this from our learning of Gomorrah, we do not like contradictions. We try our very, very best to avoid contradictions, and now we've managed to at least got some kind of attempt at dealing with these three contradictions. Michael's shaking his head. You're not happy, Michael.
Why is the one of them Joab, son of Zeruiah, and the other one, if you look in Divrei Yamim, is Abishai?
You are on the ball today, Michael. Yes, Michael has
both
pointed
sons,
out,
presumably, but they're different ones.
Yes, they are. They're brothers. Remember, they were brothers. Yoav, Avishai. Who can remember the third one?
Sa'el.
Go on, Hannah.
Sa'el.
Close. Asa'eh. Yeah, without the resh on the end. Asa'eh. Yeah. And what happened to him, Hannah?
Killed.
He was killed by Joab. By Joab, yeah. No. He was killed. He was chasing.
Who killed Asa'eh? Yoav killed the person that killed Asa'eh.
Yeah.
Remember, we had this in the end of chapter 6, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go and have a look at chapter 6.
By Shaul's chief of staff.
Yes, good. Yeah, Shaul's chief of staff, whose name was?
I'm not.
I'll give you a clue. I think I'm right on this. Don't worry about it if you can't remember it. That's a clue, by the way. I might be wrong on this, actually. Was it not Doeg?
No.
No.
Doeg killed it killed them at Eli. At Nov.
Avner.
Right. Avner, thank you, Avner. Avner, thank you, Avner. Of course it was Avner. Yes. So Avner was killed by Avner killed Asa'eh, the brother of Avishai and Yoav. And then they took revenge. So Yoav was the And remember, we had this whole discussion about the fact that David could not afford to get rid of Joab because he was the chief of staff and he needed him. And this, I suppose, would fit in nicely because according to Tehillim, Joab was the one who killed the 12,000 Edom in the Valley of Salt. So to answer Michael's question, we've got Joab, the son of Tzeruiah, and we've also got Avishai. They were brothers, and they were both hotheads. We know about that. That's mentioned, and I think they were obviously working together, and they are interchangeable, I suppose, in that regard. Right, where have we got to? Right, verse 13 we've done. Verse 14, Jeffrey.
Johnny, our scroll on Tehillim actually puts it very succinctly, putting together the commentaries of Rashi and Radak, which I think you mentioned before, to deal with the discrepancies. So he says, Edom and Aram joined their armies together in order to defend themselves against David. Therefore, their force is sometimes called Aram and sometimes Edom. First, Avishai battled them and killed only 6,000 men. Then his brother Joab returned and fought them again, killing an additional 12,000, as recorded in Tehillim. In Divrei Yamim, Tanach credits Avishai with all 18,000 because he had the merit of beginning the campaign, and therefore the entire amount is attributed to him. And in our source here in Shmuel Bet, the victory is ascribed to David because as king, he was the commander-in-chief of both armies. So it fits it all nicely together.
Yeah, Yoffie, that's more or less what we've got to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really? It's more or less what we've got to. I had it on a northern front and a southern front, which I think is possibly still, you can still say that even with that Rashi, because although they joined forces, they may well have had, a northern front and a southern front, and they would have been working in coordination with one another. Yoffie, that works out beautifully.
It deals with all the problems.
Yes, it does. It answers all the discrepancies, and kol hakavod to Michael for spotting all those discrepancies with Divrei Hayamim. Excellent. Right, let's have a look at verse 14 now, Jeffrey, please.
He appointed authorities in Edom. Throughout Edom, he appointed authorities, and all of Edom became subjects of David. Hashem caused salvation for David wherever he went.
Funny pasuk, that, isn't it?
Yeah, very funny.
Why is that odd? What's that? How does that strike you as odd, Jeffrey?
Well, he's saying it twice, and
it is. It is. It says it twice. Vayasem be'edom nitzivim. Let's just deal with that bit first. What did we just say before was the root of the word matseva?
Nitzav, rooted, to be rooted.
Yeah, and here's the same word. Nitzavim. Nitzivim.
Nitzav is also an army rank, David. Johnny, did you know that? That Nitzavim Nitzav is also an army rank.
What rank is it, Philip?
I think it's about adjutant in Israel, but the equivalent of what would be adjutant.
I don't even know what an adjutant is. Is that
it's between major and lieutenant colonel in some armies, but basically the French army.
So Netziv is quite a high rank, is what you're saying.
It's middle to high rank, yeah.
Middle to high rank. Okay, well that fits nicely, because what did he do? Here it's translated as governors in our translation here. Governors. Now, what did you translate it as, Jeffrey? Authorities, I think.
Subjects.
No. Authorities. He placed authorities right at the beginning of the verse.
He appointed authorities in Edom.
Yeah, authorities.
And throughout Edom, he appointed authorities.
Yeah, so we repeat that. We're coming to that in a sec. But the word that you've translated as authorities and we've got here as governors is nitzivim. Philip says Netziv is a rank in the army. Well, that works perfectly because David has.
Beg to differ. Nitzav is rank in the police force. And
okay, even better. That works even better
yeah,
because
it's the second highest rank in the police force.
right. Okay.
Nitzav is the chief of the police. Rav Nitzav is the head of the police force, and Nitzav is under that, and it's the equivalent of Major General in the army.
Okay, so that's even better if it's a part of the police, because that's exactly what these people were doing. And that's why Jeffrey's translated it as authorities, and here it's governors. We'll come to it in a minute, what they were doing there, but I'm just interested, as always, with the actual word. I think it's, where's Ora? You're still there, Ora? Yes. Okay, Ora, there's another example of our modern Israel being based on Tanach. Here we have the word netziv as somebody of authority. And in today's world, Hannah has told us, that is the chief or deputy chief of police. So we can add that to our list. Ora, who, as some of you will know, by the way, those of you who read my article this week in the Jerusalem Post, Ora, who is on our screens now, is the Ora that I quoted in the article. Ora is the author of those beautiful words that were printed in the Jerusalem Post this week. And so we are delighted that Ora has joined us to this shiur. It's great to see you, Ora, and it's lovely that everybody here, most of whom I think will have read that article, can actually meet you as well. So that's great. But we were talking, Ora and I were talking together with her Nigerian friends in one of the shiurim that we did. We were talking about how much of modern Israel is connected in some way to ancient Israel. And it came up because of the Anshe Knesset Agdolah, which were 120 men. And I said to them, that's why there are 120 people in the Knesset. And a smile of recognition came on Ora's face at that point, which lit up the room. And as the penny dropped, that the connection between modern Israel and ancient Israel is really, really deep. And this is another example of that, Netziv here and Netziv in the police force or in the army. So,
Johnny,
why is it said twice?
If my memory serves me right, didn't Mordecai appoint governors in the book of Ruth to collect taxes from all over the world?
You did.
Well, there were taxes were collected. Vayasem mas al Iye Hayam. Achashverosh placed taxes on all the islands of the seas. I don't think it uses the word Netziv in the Megillah. I'm willing to be corrected, but I don't think it uses the word, but the concept is the same. Yeah, governors. So why does it say it twice? Vayasem be'edom netzivim, b'chol edom sam netzivim. What, we didn't get it the first time? Why is it saying it twice? What does it sound like to you, that?
So maybe he's done it in two places.
What, Edom?
Well, because what we said earlier was there was a place in the north and there was a place in the south.
Oh, I see. So you're going for another spelling mistake. So it should say Vayasem ba'aram nitzivim b'chol Edom sam nitzivim. Could be. Yeah. All right. If we can say that Aram was a spelling mistake, then we could say the same for this. Yeah. Okay. It's a possibility. Any other suggestions?
Emphasis.
Emphasis for sure. Yes. Look at the way it's said. He placed governors in Edom, in all of Edom. He placed governors. So yeah, you've got emphasis there. I agree.
But the Art Scroll's got different translation.
What does the Art Scroll say?
He appointed authorities in Edom, throughout Edom. He appointed authorities, and all of Edom became subjects of David. So but
but there's a stop there. There's a vayehi. That's that depends how you read it, but it says vayosam Edom nitzivim b'chol Edom sam nitzivim, comma vayehi kol Edom avadim leDavid, and all of Edom became servants to David. We'll talk about that bit of the pasuk in a minute. There's a direct repetition. The only difference is the word kol, which could be emphasis, as Michael has said. Any other suggestions? So it sounds a bit poetic, doesn't it? He placed governors in all of Edom. In all of Edom, he placed governors, right? It sounds a bit poetic. And one suggestion is that actually this is a victory song, which is placed in the into the Tanach here. We're very familiar with victory songs, aren't we? Shirat Hayam, Shirat Devorah. Yeah. We're very familiar with the idea that when you have a victory, you sing poetry, sing a song. Shirah is a song, it's also poetry. One suggestion is that this is actually a poetic sentence to demonstrate a victory song. It certainly has a poetic twang to it, I think. So all of those things, I think, are valid. Its emphasis could well be a spelling mistake. If we're going to moot a spelling mistake above, we can't dismiss it here. And possibly it is poetic. And then we come to the second part of the pasuk that
I think Michael might have something to say on this, Johnny.
Okay, let's have a look. Go on, Michael. What might you have to say over this?
Nothing.
Well, have a look in Divrei Hayamim. That's what David, I think, is alluding to.
Yeah.
You have now gained yourself a reputation for the Divrei Hayamim specialist.
I've only got one copy, so when I come to Israel, I won't bring it with me.
It's on verse 13. You can get it online. It's on verse 13.
And he put garrisons in Edom, and all of the Edomites became David's servants. Thus the Lord preserved David whithersoever he went.
Okay, so in other words, in Divrei Hayamim, what does it do?
Doesn't say it twice.
It doesn't say it twice, right. Now, I think that perhaps lends credence to the final theory that it was a victory song, because here in Shmuel Bet, here we are talking about what? We're talking about David's victories in situ. It's happening now as we're speaking. I'll come to you in a sec, Jeff. And so there, it would be sensible to have a victory song. What's Divrei Hayamim, Michael?
A history.
It's just the history. It's the summation, the chronology. Chronicles. It's not going to have victory songs in it, as this was here. And so I think that perhaps lends credence to the fact that this might be a victory song. Is that what you were going to say, David?
No, I was just pointing out the difference in Divrei Hayamim, but I like your idea. Yeah. Okay.
So yes, Jeffrey.
So could there be a bit of poetic license here, which explains the anomalies?
Okay, you mean the whole thing's a bit of poetic license?
Well, certainly you mentioned it's very poetic, and you mentioned a victory song and so on and so forth. So it's a combination, no?
Could be. If you were going to say it's poetic license, what do we mean when we say poetic license? We normally mean that the poet is taking. Well, yeah, we're saying the poet's taking liberties, right? It's the poet's saying stuff that's not entirely, at least literally true. Well, that's what we mean when we say poetic license, right?
Yeah.
If I say to you in lyrical terms, Philip Lehrer is the most handsome and intelligent person I've ever seen in my entire life, right? That's
slight exaggeration.
Yeah.
okay, but that's poetic license, right? He is intelligent and he is handsome. He might not be the most handsome in the world, but that's poetic license. It's taking liberties with the text. Now, look what the next bit of the pasuk is, and maybe Jeffrey's onto something here. Vayehi kol Edom avadim leDavid, and all of Edom became servants to David. That sounds a bold claim. The whole of Edom.
1 second, 1 second. The Kili I'm cheating because I've got the article, and the Kili says something different. The Kili says that Edom had its traditional disdain and antagonism towards Israel. So it wasn't so it's written twice because it wasn't enough for David to put people in governors in the big cities. He had to put them throughout Edom because the people were hostile. Yeah, and as such, it's written twice, and the word that's different, he says, is he appointed authorities in Edom throughout Edom, Bechol Edom, Sam Nitzavim, like in every place.
Okay, so that's a good explanation. So he placed governors in the main cities, but that wasn't enough because Edom are particularly antagonistic. So he had to have sub-governors, as it were, in all the places in Edom. Okay, that's a good explanation as well. And thereby, Vayehi kol Edom avadim leDavid, and thereby all of Edom became servants to David. Now then, is that true? Were there no independent kings of Edom? What do you think the answer is to that question, since I've asked it?
Yeah, probably yes.
I think.
Well,
I think because of its size, I think it's very hard to control such a big area.
Right, and maybe that's what the Kli Yakar is saying, because therefore he had to put governors all over the place. So Peter says, because I asked the question, that there probably was a king of Edom somewhere along the line. Yeah, is that right, Peter?
I think there was.
I think that's what you were getting at, I think.
Okay, well, I've double bluffed you this time, Peter. I've double bluffed you. Have a look in Melachim Bet, I think, or is it Melachim Aleph? No, Melachim Aleph, chapter 22. Have a look over here in verse 48 on the screen.
There was no king in Edom.
A governor was king. Netziv, see? Netzav Melech. This here is wait. This is into the future. There was no king in Edom. And here, where are we now in this, where I've just shown you? Where we are at the time of King Yehoshaphat. Okay? Yehoshaphat. Now, when did Yehoshaphat live? I didn't know either. I had to look it up. There it is on the screen for you. Roughly middle of the 9th century BCE. 870 to 849. When did David live?
940. He died, didn't he?
Yes, so around about. We always use 1,000 as being the pivotal point of David. So this is 150 years later. 150 years later, in Melachim Aleph, still no king in Edom. So our pasuk here was prophetic. Yeah, for at least 150 years, we know there was no king in Edom and only governors. So I just wanted to point that out to you, that Shmuel Bet here is consistent with Malachim Aleph from 150 years later. All right, let's carry on because I want to finish these last few psukim before we finish. Verse 15, Jeffrey.
David reigned over all of Israel. David administered justice and kindness to his entire people. Joab, son of Zeruiah, was in command of the army. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was the chronicler. Zadok, son of Ahitub, and Ahimelech, son of Abiathar, were Kohanim. Seraiah was the scribe. Benaihu, son of Yehudah, was in charge of the archers and slingers, and David's sons were senior ministers.
Right, so there you've got the entirety of David's cabinet here. Now, what is so lovely about these last few psukim is that I doubt that any of us, when we were in our pre-Israel lives in Chutz La'aretz, I doubt any of us knew anyone called any of those names. Anybody know any of people named with those names before you came to Israel? Never heard of them. Well, no. Right. So we'd never heard of these names. I'd never heard of them either till I came to Israel. And lo and behold, in our own very own shul, we have an Evyatar and we have a Benaiah.
Benaiah, son of Yuval.
Yeah, Rav Yuval's son is called Benaiah, and Itzik Drucker's son is called, oldest son is called Evyatar. He was the Chazan on Friday night. And again, Ora, how beautiful is that? That we are now in the modern Israel. The people in modern Israel are looking back to Tanach to find names and give rebirth to these names. Rekindle these names, bring them back from the dead. Nobody was called Benaiah or Evyatar for millennia. Yeah, we had Yaakov, Aram, Yitzchak, Yaakovs, we had all of them, but nobody had an Evyatar or Benaiah, and that's another beautiful idea. I think I always get great nachas when I hear old biblical names being used today. Yeah, we have the other side of the story. I did I think I've told you this before. I did a bris once for a famous footballer. What was his name? Played for Manchester City. What was he called? Berkovic.
Oh, Eyal Berkovic.
Eyal Berkovic, that's it. Eyal Berkovic. Anyway, when he was playing for Manchester City and living in Manchester, he had a baby boy, and I did the bris. So I do the bris, and we giving him his name, you know, Vayikare b'shamo b'Yisrael, and I'm expecting, you know, something at least Israeli, if not biblical, at least. Tom. Tom. Vayikare shamo b'Yisrael. Tom.
A popular name, Johnny.
Yeah, it's apparently is a very popular name in Israel. I don't know the origins of it, but the only Tom I knew was Tom Thumb.
Tom Lantis.
Tom is spelt with a taf, and
Yeah.
taf is the tam in the Haggadah, and it's perfection. It's wholeness. It's shalem. Yeah.
Okay.
Tam v'nishlam. Yeah, is the expression.
Johnny, there was a very famous footballer in England called Tom Finney. His nickname was the Preston Plumber.
Yeah, Tom Finney. Yeah, I don't know why Eyal called him Tom, but that's yeah. So there's a nice explanation, and there are many Hebrew names which have got beautiful explanations. Now, my granddaughter is called Ma'ayan, which is a spring, beautiful name. Carmel is another one. They've all got lovely names. But I get a great deal of nachas when I hear biblical names being reborn. I was ignorant of Tom being at the time. I was ignorant of Tom being a popular Hebrew name. I've never heard anybody called up to the Torah Ya'amod Tom ben Ayal. For me, it was my ignorance. It was my ignorance. I didn't know anything. What did I know? By the way, that guy, little Tom Berkovich, must be about 30 now. So he's probably got kids of his own. Anyway, I just think it was beautiful when I read this week and I was preparing it and I saw the names Evyatar, who was a Kohen, and Benaiah, and I thought, wow, in our shul we've got reborn names from Shmuel Bet, which I, for one, had certainly never heard of until I came to live in Israel, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Okay, we're going to start chapter 9 next week.
Okay.
Yes,
well, I just wanted to say that sometimes in overseas, people tried to marry Jewish names with Hebrew, with local expressions or local names to save the problem of having two names, and so it wouldn't stand out in the Goyim, but it would still be a Jewish name. Maybe originally in Tom might have been born in that situation.
Maybe. I'll have to ask him when I next see him. I don't know when that will be. But you're right. Like Jeffrey and I are both named after the same person. Jeffrey is called Jeffrey and I'm called Jonathan. And our Hebrew names are Yaakov, because we're both named after our mutual grandfather, whose name was Jack. Okay, Jack, of course.
No, he gave himself Jack in English.
Okay, so his
Iancu.
name on his Iancu, but Iancu is the Romanian version of Jacob. Which is the English version of Yaakov. So he was given, our grandfather was given the Romanian equivalent of his Hebrew name, whereas Jeffrey and I were not. Neither of us were called Jack or Jacob. The reason for that is quite simple, that when Jeffrey was born and when I was born 15 years later, the name Jacob and the name Jack was not fashionable. They were old men's name. Of course, now in England, Jacob and Jack are very popular names again. It's come round full circle. But that's why we were called with something with a J, exactly as Hannah has said. Names are often connected so that you don't have this thing. Having said that, Hannah, there's also the other side of the coin. I had patients in Manchester who were Satmar Hasidim, and their names were stuff like Yoili, because every Satmar Chassid is called Yoili, Yoili and Nissi and all sorts of things, but they all had English names. Yoili on his passport was Edward, right? And Yoili's kid was called James or something really, really English, right? But his name was Yoili. So they were deliberately given non-Jewish names on their passports in case they needed to, go incognito, which will be a bit difficult since they had payers down here and what have you. But anyway, they were called Edward and Richard, not James. Richard, that's it. They were called Edward and Richard. Anyway, names are fascinating. Okay, we'll stop there and we'll start chapter 9, Be'ezrat Hashem, next week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let me just stop the recording.